Welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka Blenderhead, Blender HD. If you want to follow me there on Twitter, and it's Monday, but we don't got James McCool. We don't got Mondays with McCool today. James died over the weekend. I'm just kidding. James did not die. He's in the middle of packing and stuff for his move to Tennessee. So he's in the middle of taking care of stuff. So no James today. I don't know if is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Last week, we talked all about esports for no apparent reason. So maybe that's a good thing for some people. Or maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe people wanted to talk about esports for no apparent reason. But he got me. He got me as usual, right? Hit that thumbs up button. Hit the thummy thumbs. Hit the notification bell. Hit the subscribe button. Hit whatever button you want. I see you guys in the YouTube chat. Jay Newman, Infamous Tuck, Suki Singh, Jared Fegus, Alex Santi, Joe Adamo, Trey, Daniel Hutchins, right? We'll talk about NBA today, I guess. There's a 4-game slate. There's 4 games, right? After I've been gone for, 5 days? So I didn't play any of the NFL over the weekend. Apparently, it's the greatest weekend of football ever. And I missed it. I missed it all. Even the game last night with the Bills-Chiefs, right? I was busy watching something else. Apparently 25 points in the last 2 minutes of the game. I was looking on Twitter or whatever. I didn't have any lineups, right? I didn't have any Gabe Davis. I didn't got anything. So it didn't really matter that much to me. But I hope you guys did well, right? You're not in my contest, right? I didn't play. So maybe you guys did well. But we got NBA today. And I come back after 5 days not playing DFS, and apparently half the league is out. What's going on? Right, I come back to this and it seems like half the Bulls are out, the Suns, it's all these teams have people out. The Pelicans is Ingram out, right? What I like doing, especially on RotoGrinders, first thing I do is obviously I load up the lineup HQ so I can see the projections. But I like looking at the injury report. We have the situation room here. If you're a premium member, you get this, and it just shows who's in, who's out, what the status are. Right, Gobert is doubtful. Right, if Gobert is out, if Whiteside doesn't return, then Azubuike will help a lot at center, while Amir, Gay, and Pascal will help there too. So you get a little overview, kind of the injury situations on the slate, what you should be looking out for, as well as Meansy's core plays, which is not really like a plays article. It's not. It's the lay of the land. I like calling it the lay of the land. What we know, who is out, who's doubtful, what's going on, what we don't know. Who's on the second night of a back-to-back, kind of like what should we expect? Are these guys going to play? They're not going to play. Is Conley going to sit on a back-to-back, right? All this talk over here. The core questions. What does tonight's slate look like from a big picture perspective? Like we don't have in our projections Levine or Javonte Green in for the Bulls, but maybe Levine comes back. Maybe he comes back and he'll be added to the projections. So it's kind of, I get a sense of why the projections look the way that they do. So I like looking through and saying, okay, this is what I should be looking out for. Obviously, it's NBA. Things change, spur of the moment. But some of the stuff that we should be looking out for throughout the course of the day before lock, right? We got a 7 o'clock lock, and it's all kind of spaced out, right? We got a 7 o'clock game, then we got 2 8s and a 9, and it seems like the first game on the slate is the one with the least amount of news, right? The least projected. I mean, maybe the lowest owned game on the slate. I see Knicks, Cavs, and then I take a look at the salary adjusted value, and I realize I don't see Knicks, Cavs on the top, right? I don't see much of them. If we go to that game, sort by game, we go to the Knicks, it looks like the Knicks don't project all that well, right? At all, right? Like the Knicks don't project well. A 98-point total. The Cavs, they don't project that well for their prices either. Take a chance at Kevin Love for 21 minutes, maybe, right? You take a look here, you see poor RGV, poor Smash, right? The Knicks, right? Even worse, right? Emmanuel quickly in 23 minutes, can he get there, right? So then we go to OKC. It's like, okay, got SGA projecting well, right? And then we got to go to the Bulls, assuming everyone that's supposed to be out is out. DeRozan, Cook, and Vooch, right? Kobe White's a little overpriced at 7,000, but you never know. Right, you go through the Indianapolis, you go to the Pacers with Sabonis out, but I mean, kind of the price is like Goga's 6,200. So it's like the prices have adjusted for that. Jeremy Lamb, I guess, off the bench for 24 minutes. He projects decently. We don't know if Karis LeVert. Obviously, things will change if LeVert is out and not questionable. Then we go to the Pelicans, right? And we take a look. Okay, the Pelicans look. Okay, it looks like Pelicans are the team that we may be playing a bunch of, right? Because you got Herbert Jones, Jonas Valanciunas, Garrett Temple, right? Devontae Graham, depending on if he's in, Nikhil Alexander-Walker, right? These numbers here. Okay, so I'm looking at the Pelicans, then the Jazz. The Jazz, it's just basically like Trent Forrest, and it all depends on whether or not, like Mike Conley is in or Hassan Whiteside, right? I mean, like we're having Whiteside for 24 minutes currently. Doesn't mean you can't play him. I mean, he's okay, but it's all these secondary players, and they have enough bodies here that if all these guys play, I mean, like all the minutes will be kind of spread out. I guess Trent Forrest. I mean, can he get there? Maybe. Then we can look at Phoenix with Crowder and Payne are out, right? So that's why Cameron Johnson is kind of like popping. But they don't project all that badly either, right? And you got Booker, Paul, Biyombo, who's apparently now playing more center than McGee with Ayton out. So we got a nice little slate here. So we kind of know where the chalk's going to go as of this moment. So we may see a bunch of Chicago. Okay, I would guess an SGA lineup. You play SGA on one side, and you play like DeRozan, Vucevic, Cook, some type of two of these guys to contain it to one game. Like that would be kind of a chalkier build. Then, like, if the Pelicans project decently, but the Pacers really don't, I don't know who you'd play on the Pacers. If only if LeVert's out. If LeVert's out, then we're good. Then we can start playing Pacers because these guys are going to start coming up. There's all this usage from LeVert is going to go somewhere. Probably Duarte, Lance Stevenson will get more. Justin Holiday, Jeremy Lamb. We'll get something here. But like LeVert at 8,700 is. I don't think so. I guess you could play Jeremy Lamb. I guess so. But I'm just going through. This is a first look, right? I mean, it's not like I looked at this beforehand, right? Just open up the windows, take a look, see who's questionable in the projections. Graham, Whiteside, LeVert, Rondo. Is Rondo going to matter? No. Conley's going to matter. I don't think Kemba's going to matter anymore. Just get a sense. Can you build lineups now? No, you can't. You don't know, no idea what's going on. People sometimes show up to these shows. Should I play this guy or this guy? What the hell we don't know anything yet. If everything stays the way it is, then maybe I can answer the question. But nothing ever stays the way it is in NBA. Nothing does. Joe Adamo says, I had all 5 50-50s cash yesterday. Well, congratulations. Matthew B had a CJ plus Fred VanVleet slack from yesterday. Apparently they did well yesterday. Did they? Or over the weekend or whatever. I have not played Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 5 days of DFS. I did not play. I was out in Washington, D.C. I was on vacation. So no, I have no idea what's been going on. So I didn't play NFL over the weekend, and I didn't play NBA since then. Crazy Mick said, can LeVert and Lamb correlate positively in the same lineup? At Lamb's price, I don't see why not. I mean, obviously, assuming that LeVert is in. Right. Well, what's the starting line? What's the starting lineup for the Pacers look like now? Does Lamb and LeVert, do they play in the court at the same time? So what is this? So is it LeVert? Who starts for this? I mean, I can obviously bring up the starting lineups. Let's take a look. NBA starting lineups. You get this at RotoGrinders. This is free. The starting lineups page. Yeah, he comes off the bench. And look at who he's competing with. No one. Craig, I don't care about. Justin Holiday, Duarte. No, Lamb could be fine. Because Lamb could obviously play with like Holiday and Dwight. He could play in the closing unit, and he's only 4K. Jeremy Lamb was 6,000. Maybe that's a different story. So yeah, you could play. And it's a 4-game slate. Also, it's a 4-game slate. If this was an 11-game slate, I probably wouldn't do it. Not because of the positive or negative correlation or anything like that, just that there are more options now. Like to play Levert and Lamb together. Like, how many other players can be played in those slots from other teams? On an 11-game slate, you can play in other 4K options. You play there's going to be multiple guys in the 8,000s at point guard, shooting guard that you could play instead of Levert that are projected similarly. On a 4-game slate, how many players do you have to choose from? Not as much. The opportunity cost is lower. So Lamb and Levert are definitely negatively correlated, but not by, I don't think that dramatically. And at Lamb's price at 4,000, I don't think it matters that much. To me, Levert is the problem. Levert at 8,700 is. I don't think he plays more than 30. Like we have him at 32 minutes. Like, is he the type of guy that could play 38 minutes? Well, I guess so. He played 38 against Phoenix, right? 34 against the Clippers. I don't know what the score of that game was. Against the Lakers, he played 28. Did they blow him out or something? He only played 28 minutes. He's played 37 against Chicago, 39. So maybe we're a little light on 32, 30. Yeah. Maybe he plays more than 32 minutes. Maybe we bump him up later in the day. You push him to 34 minutes, and he's not bad. You push him to 30, like you push him to like 36 minutes, and he's at 43.85. Then he becomes a better play. I'd be more inclined to play someone like a Levert if I was playing Pelicans in my lineups. Okay. Both sides of the game, close game, goes over, maximum minutes. So if I were to play Levert at, a kind of a raised price, I'd be more inclined to play Valanciunas, Herbert Jones, Garrett Temple, Devontae Graham, if not Devontae Graham, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I'd be more likely, especially if people are going to be playing some of these Pelicans. So if you got any questions, feel free to post them in the YouTube chat about anything. It doesn't matter. Esports, even though I don't know anything about esports. It'll be a short show today. What can I review? I didn't play. Gabe Davis. Did you have Gabe Davis yesterday? That's the review. If you didn't have Gabe Davis, you lost, right? Or whatever. You probably still cash without Gabe Davis. He wasn't that old. Just because there's nothing much more for me to talk about. If people don't got any questions, they got the game solved. Everyone learned everything. So if you want to learn more, you could join our RotoGrinders Discord. Join my channel in the RotoGrinders Discord, Blender's Game Theory. The Discord in and of itself, you could join for nothing. Okay, you could just sign up for RotoGrinders, just a regular old RotoGrinders account, which is free. Join the Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord. There are some free channels in there, right? The freebie people, the cheapos. Then we have premium channels for every sport and everything. And my channel's premium, Blender's Game Theory. You could add any question about GFS strategy, you could post them there. And then about once a week, we do group coaching calls over Zoom. You could get on video with me and ask whatever you want. Talk about your own play. We do screen sharing. People show their own Excel stuff and their roto trackers and everything. Typically, we have anywhere from 20 to 60 people in there. The next one is Thursday night. So Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. But you can only join if you're part of the RotoGrinders premium Discord. So you have to be a RotoGrinders premium member. Doesn't matter. It could be all the sports, one sport. As long as you're premium in something, you'll get access to that channel. Alex asked, we just talked about negative correlation, but how small does a slate have to be to use the stacks tool? Now you can use the stacks tool for anything. As I've always said about since we've done the stacks tool in NBA, the stacks tool should be used as an easier way for you to make groups, not as like this is why you should be playing at stacks. So, for instance, if I'm playing, let's say, Pacers and Pelicans, and you're like, I only want to play. If I play Pacers in my lineups, I want Pelicans in my lineups. Now you could set up groups that are like, if Jeremy Lamb's in the lineup, play one of these 8 Pelicans, or play 2 up to 3 of these Pelicans. If I have LeVert in this line, you can create groups for like all these players, right? Conditional groups. If Lamb, if Goga, if LeVert, if Justin Holiday, if Chris Duarte, like that's a pain in the ass, right? So I could go like what we talked about before, right? With LeVert, right? I'd go here, LeVert as the conditional, and then I have to start listing off. Here's Herbert Jones, here's Valanciunas. I'd have to start adding all the Pacers, all the Pelicans, and then set like a max, minimum 1, maximum 4, or whatever. That's a pain in the ass to do that. Like you have to make multiple groups like that. You have to type in all the names. Okay. So instead of doing that, you go to the stacks page, add the primary stack, and just go any, right? Team one is the Pacers, right? So I just checkbox the Pacers. Any one Pacer. Team 2, use 2 Pelicans, right? And I want that in 25% of my lineups or whatever that. Now I'm done, right? Let's say I wanted 100%. Just make it easy, right? There you go. Right, I go to build rules. Let's just build 20 lineups for ease, for simplicity's sake, right? So instead of making that group, I'm just like, if I play a Pacer, I get 2 Pelicans. And just build 20 lineups, and this is what you should see. Jeremy Lamb, Temple, Valanciunas. Right? Lamb, Temple, Valanciunas. Obviously, we have no randomness, no nothing. Is going to be just the top projected lineups. Here's Valanciunas, Herbert Jones. Right? LeVert, Jones, Valanciunas. See? So the stacks tool just makes it easier for you to do something like that. You're not just, I'm just stacking games. Because NBA DFS, the correlation isn't worth like playing in that manner. I use the stacks tool as a way to do this. An easier way than doing groups. Imagine you did this for multiple teams. You'd have 20 groups and have to constantly put 8 guys in every group, and you'll be spending 5 to 10 minutes just on setting up groups if you wanted to do it that way. If you wanted to have groups. Game stacks, like this interface, dude, I could just do it like that. I could do it multiple ways. So let's say I'm going to add this. So I could do the same type of stack, right? So I'm going to do Indianapolis, right? Let's say 1-1, 25%. Let's say I only want, let's say I only want 1 Pacer in my line. But if I have a Pacer, I want anywhere from 1 to 4 Pelicans, let's just say. So I could set this up 4 different times. Right? Let's say I want 25% in all of them. Whatever you want. Right? So you see here, when I have 1 Pacer in the lineup, and 25% of my lineups, I want 1 on the other side with Pelicans, or 2, 25% with 2, 25% with 3, 25% with 20 lineups. So I should get 5 lineups of each. All right, so I go here. So here's my pacer, and here's Jonas Valanciunas, just one. Right? I have 1 pacer. I have 2 Pelicans. 1 pacer, 1 Pelican. Do we have probably the lower here? Here's 1 Levert with 4 Pelicans. Right? Here's 4 Pelicans with Jeremy Lamb. 4 Pelicans with Jeremy Lamb. Right? I'm not saying you should build these lineups necessarily with 4 Pels. But this is so much easier to control with the stats interface than by making groups that do this. And let's say you wanted in the second, let's say in addition to this, I didn't put in 25%. Let's say in addition to this, we go to the player pool and we take a look at OKC. Like it's shy and like not much else. So if I have shy in my lineup, maybe I want to have multiple Bulls. 1 or 2 Bulls. Let's see if that's possible. So you go to the stacks interface, you could do that in the second game stack. So let's say Pels, OKC, right? It's shy pretty much. 1, 1, 50%. There you go, 1, 2. Make sure it's OKC, 50%. Let's see if this fits in. Let's see if we could do this. Let's see if hopefully we don't get an error. Salary-wise, this could happen. Okay? So here we go. Shy, DeMar DeRozan, Lamb. So we get the 1 Pacer, 2 Pelicans. Then we get the OKC and Chicago. Let's see if we can find 2 Chicago players in the lineup. Go all the way to the bottom. Like I said, I don't know if 2 could fit in with our other stack rule. Yeah, I don't think so. Let's get rid of that. Let's see, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3. Let's get rid of this one. Oh, because I didn't put, okay, there you go. Now we can do it. 25, 25, 25. Let's make this all equal to 100. All right, 100, 100. Okay, now let's do it. So you should get Pacers, 1 Pacer with up to 3 Pelicans, in addition to have 1 OKC player with at least 1 or 2 Bulls in our lineups. Now we should get the 2. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. DeRozan, Vucevic with Shy, Lamb with Temple and Jonas. Right? Go through here. So this is an easier way. Using the stacks interface is just an easier way than using groups that you'd be doing with the groups function. It's not something you just go in and go, oh, that this is what I wanted. Like, oh, I'm not going to look at anything like baseball, right? Baseball, sometimes you don't even look at the lineup HQ player pool screen. You're just like, oh, I'm just going to stack 8 teams, and right? Because most likely you're not stacking the Knicks Cleveland, but their projections are so low. I mean, you can. Your lineups are going to be projected fairly poorly. I don't know. I'm not even sure you're going to get enough of an ownership discount on it. But it's for those examples where it's like, well, if I play 1 guy, I want to have a guy from the other side of the game, or 2 guys from the other side of the game. Before our stacks interface, you'd have to do that all in player groups. It's just easier to do in the stacks interface. Chandra asks, does the stacks tool allow a range? No. Why do you think I set up here's 1-1, here's 1-2. And obviously, this doesn't have to add up to 100%. Like if I just put it at 25 and 25, that means in 25% of my lineups, I'll get 1-2, 25, I get 1-1, and the other 50% is whatever fits. Doesn't matter. There's no rule for that. So you don't have to be restricted. It has to be all of your lineups, unless you want it to be. Like I said, this is not how you build NBA DFS lineups. This is an interface for you to accomplish something that you would have done previously with player groups and do it easier. That's it. So I could see a lot of you never touching this whatsoever. Never touching it. I always have to say this because I'm gonna get 3 DMs and 5 messages about using the stacks tool in NBA. What's the best way to what should I play these stacks or that stacks? It's like that's not how you play NBA DFS. There's not enough correlation that you care about game stacks or team stacks or anything like that. That should be the primary focus of how you play. This is the thing that you do at the very end. You've already built and build 2,000 lineups, and you have to get rid of some. And you're like, which lineup should I keep? Well, if I had a tiebreaker between these two, I'd rather have guys from both sides of the game. Oh, okay, there you go. Like that's at the level where this is at. Bjorn Hagen, can you talk about NFL showdown captain exposure? Field is moving more towards skill position captain. Is quarterback captain still bad at lower ownership? But there's no such thing as good or bad. It depends on the slate. It depends on the salary. It depends on everything. So no, I would suggest go to theoryofdfs.com. There's a 15-hour course that I put out. It would be very, very beneficial if you go through the fundamentals of DFS strategy and game theory. That would be easier to answer the question. You'll know that good or bad doesn't exist. That question doesn't make any sense. Is it still bad at lower? No. If the quarterback is $25,000 in salary, yes, it's bad. Quarterback is $1,000 in salary. Dude, sure, yeah, he's way underpriced. Like those are the things. What are the variables? Those are the things that matter. But where do we get the Alex asked about the ownership discount? Is it more valuable to over leverage on these smaller slates? It depends on the contest that you're playing. The smaller the slate, the less of an opportunity cost that you're getting from not playing players. So yes, it's easier to get, okay, this is the better way of putting it. On an 11-game slate, it's easier to get contrarian because you could find tons of 2% owned players that are actually decent. But the opportunity cost of like the best value plays are very high. Right? Here, it's much lower. Like guys, like what I'm saying is like, based on our projections right here, guys like Cameron Johnson, Trent Forrest, and Tyler Cook are going to be way, way over-owned. Much more owned than they probably should be if it was an 11-game slate. So don't necessarily feel compelled at these projections to have to play them. Now, obviously, if the salary adjusted value plus minus, which is what RGV is, was 15 on a guy, even on a 4-game slate, you're probably jamming. But the difference between, if we take a look at even at the same salary, let's sort by salary. So we go down to where Cam Johnson is. Let's scroll. So here's Cam Johnson. The difference between Cam Johnson and Kenrich Williams, let's put that into, is about 7 points. What's the ownership difference going to be? But it looks like about 3-1. I don't think Kenrich Williams is even going to be this old. But you'd look at the difference between the two, 3.74 to 3.62. So that's about 6.5? No, it's a little over 7 points, 7.5 points. So that's how much you're giving up. Can you find other guys in these types of ranges? Jackson Hayes, Jeremy Lamb. I mean, obviously Lamb, but like Rudy Gay. Let's take a look at Rudy Gay. The difference between Cam Johnson and Rudy Gay is about 5 points. Almost 6, 5 to 6 points. Most likely, Cam Johnson, at the current extent, we have him at 30% owned right now. I mean, this is obviously early in the day. He could easily end up being 45% owned and Rudy Gay being 8% owned. Like that gap will widen. So then it makes it much more viable to just like don't play Cameron Johnson, play Rudy Gay instead. Right? All these guys on smaller slates that are, especially if they're cheap, that come out as, the best projected point per dollar plays, unless they're smash plays, RGVs of 10 plus or whatever. Like the only difference between Cameron Johnson and Bismack Biyombo or whatever is 3 points, is a 3-pointer. That's it. Is a bucket and a rebound. That's it. That's the only difference. So yes, over the long run, yeah, a bucket and a rebound is going to matter over the long run. But in one game sample size of a slate, do you need to play them? No. Especially in GPP. I could see a lineup that has neither Cam Johnson, Trent Forrest, or Tyler Cook in it winning. Why not? They are the best projected plays on the slate, but they're not. I mean, look at the smash percentages. 40%, 46%, 55% of the time, they don't hit a score where it's like you need to have it. But the field is most likely going to treat it as if, like, I got to play a ton of these guys. So it's easier to get different on these slates. It's easier. Okay, the better way of putting it, it's easier to know how to get different on these smaller slates than on the larger slates. Obviously, on a larger slate, it's easier to get different. There's more options. Now we got some spam in the chat. Getting rid of it. Getting rid of the spam. But yes, Alex, for a little bit over 1,000 entrants, I wouldn't care about being over leveraged on this small of a slate. On a larger slate, yeah, maybe you'd be a little bit concerned. You don't have to get 1% owned guys on an 11-game slate. Here, it's almost impossible to just avoid some owned players. I wouldn't just X out, like, I'm just going to X out the top 10 guys and then run a lineup. I probably wouldn't do that. But it's these types of guys, the Cameron Johnsons, Trent Forrest, Tyler Cooks, Herbert Jones, Jeremy Lamb. I don't think they're necessary. Like the low fantasy point per minute type of guys. It's like, oh, well, Trent Forrest is going to play 32 minutes and maybe do nothing. Right? We have his median at 23 points, which is great for 3,000. But let's say it's 14. Like, that's still well within the range of outcomes. If it's 14, probably is not in the winning lineup. Right, Garrett Temple. Like, these are very low fantasy point per minute players. If I'm going to play a cheaper guy that's not the chalk, I'd rather take shots on guys like a Rudy Gay, guy that could walk into more minutes and actually does something. Right, I'm looking down here. Like if Jonas gets into foul trouble, Jackson Hayes, he could walk. He's a fantasy point per minute. He's 1+ fantasy point per minute. I'd rather take shots on those guys, those types of players. Kenrich Williams. I'd rather take shots on those guys than than a chalk guy. Like Cameron Johnson has a decent FPPM. But like Trent Forrest at the shooting, I mean, he's going to be popular because he's at the shooting guard position. That doesn't look all that attractive today. The difference between Forrest's projection and someone else that, in that range, is like 3, 4 points, 5 points. I'll sacrifice 5 points on a 4-game slate. Would I fade all of them? Probably not. It depends. Obviously, we're looking at projections and stuff. It's 11:30 in the morning. Right? People could be back, right? Levine could be back. It could ruin some of the Chicago stuff, right? It'll change everything. Would I play Rondo over Temple? Well, Rondo's questionable. It all depends on, 18 minutes. They're 2 different games. I have no idea. It depends on the rest of your lineup. Rondo isn't going to be owned, so what do I care? The point that I'm making has nothing to do with the players. It has to do with the ownership. What is the difference between Trent Forrest and Rajon Rondo, for instance? Rondo projects for 7 points lower. Obviously, he's a good fantasy point per minute player. If I was to have 8 of the chalkiest players in my lineup, I'd rather take out Forrest and play Rondo. But I'm not going to play a lineup like X out the top 10 projected players and then play Rondo. Like, players don't matter, lineups matter. In a 1,000 entry contest, like Alex is asking about. How much of a need is there to play these 3K, 4K guys that are going to be 50s to 60% up? That's the key, that the last part. 50 to 60% owned. Trent Forrest at 87% owned or Rondo at 2% owned. Rondo at 2% owned. There's no question about it. I'll take Rondo at 2%. Trent Forrest at 36% owned or Rondo at 14% owned. Well, now I don't know. That's closer. So it's not about the players, it's about the ownership. Do I want to play low fantasy point per minute players at high ownership when they don't even project? They don't project so dramatically over. If Cameron Johnson projected for 700 points today, then you play. But what happens if he's 100% owned? Well, then he should be 100% owned. That's the point. Cameron Johnson today we have him currently at 30. He may come in at 70% ownership. But we don't know. It's like 7.5 hours away. Should he be 70% owned on the slate? No, he shouldn't. I can tell you that as long as the projections don't change, at his current projection, he should not be 70% owned. Which means you're better off not having him in your lineup. If Cameron Johnson is only 10% owned, I'd probably have him in every lineup. Because now he's under-owned. I'll take the $3,900 player that projects for nearly 7x. At a small forward position that may be weak today. Or power forward. Maybe power forward is the weak position today. Yeah, power forward is weak today. Right? That's going to cause, if we take a look at just this power forward position. Okay, well, DeRozan will take up that spot. Okay, so people are going to pay up or pay down. Right? DeRozan, Johnson, Cook, Jones. Okay. It's weak past that. Take a look at the center position. Right? People play Vooch, Jonas. They'll jam Cook in there or something. Let's take a look at small forward. I guess small forward small forward is the weak position. Shooting guard. Yeah, small forward. Yeah, because small forward will be weak, and then people will jam in Cameron Johnson and Jeremy Lamb and Garrett Temple, and then we'll just start. Then Kenrick Williams barely gets any ownership, or not enough. Rudy Gay, Isaac Okoro, who's horrible, but why not take a shot on Okoro over a ridiculously over-owned Cameron Johnson? I mean, you could say that about anyone here. I mean, none of these guys project well. Play Hart, play anyone. But I think that's the reason why Cameron Johnson is going to be more owned than 30%. As of the current situation. 5 hours from now, Levine's in, this guy's out, Whiteside's out, and this thing, and then everything changes. Bjorn Hagen, would you rather play a high fantasy points per minute guy who could fall into more minutes, or a low fantasy points per minute guy who could secure same projection and ownership? Personally, the correct answer is it doesn't matter. That's the correct. Mathematically, it doesn't matter. In reality, though, I'm more inclined, doesn't mean I do, just more inclined, personally, to play the guy that is more productive. To me, for GPPs, it depends if you're playing cash or GPP. If you're playing cash, take the minutes. Typically, you side with the minutes in cash because you're not looking to come in first place. You're just looking to beat half the field. But for GPP, to me, there's more upside in a guy that could walk into more minutes. It's very unlike that a guy that already gets all the minutes is going to walk into more usage without someone getting injured or something like that. Right? The guy that plays 38 minutes and sits in the corner. How do they end up with more than what their median projected? If they shoot hot, I guess, right? Oh, he's shooting hot from three and they're constantly giving him the ball. That happens once in a blue moon. But he's already playing 38 minutes. He's not going to play 40. He's already playing 38. And he already has a garbage projection. He already has a projection of 25 because he barely does anything. He'll get some rebounds. He'll get a couple of shots. He'll take 6 shots a game. I mean, he doesn't do that much. He just stands around. Torrey Craig plays defense. Stuff like that. So how many ways does that guy have to walk into 50 plus points? Fantasy points. Not much. The guy that plays 18 minutes, 20 minutes off the bench. So he plays 20 minutes off he has the same projection of 25 points, right? As the guy that plays 38 minutes. Only because his 20 minutes, he gets closer to the basket. He's Bobby Portis type, right? He gets the ball. He's dunking it. He's rebounds. He's getting, he's part of the second unit, right? So he's getting a lot of the usage. Well, depending on the starters, depending on the situation in the game, if the guy that's projected for 20 minutes, let's say he walks into 26 minutes. Well, now he's going to, the extra 6 minutes, now he's going to have that flame emoji. Let's say he walks into 32. Right? Someone has foul trouble. Maybe the game blows out. Who knows? The 20-minute guy with a high usage and a high, fantasy point per minute, walking into 32 minutes is maybe in the winning lineup at that point. The guy that's already playing 38 minutes, how does that guy get 50 plus fantasy points? So at the same projection, same ownership, same whatever, I'm much more likely to side with the guy with the higher usage. Just understanding that his results are going to be much, much higher variance. Right? Because he could play 16 minutes and then miss a bunch of shots and he's sitting there with 10 fantasy points. And the guy that played 38 minutes is sitting there with 22 fantasy points. Right? Because he's on the court at least more often. But for GPP, we want to embrace variance. But if they're the same projection, if they technically had the same projection, which means their distribution curve looked exactly the same and had the same ownership, it wouldn't matter. The mathematical choice would mean it means nothing. Personally, the question that you're asking should be 37th on the list of what you should be doing for DFS. But when you first solve the first 36 questions, then you could wonder about that. Most average DFS players, what they get wrong about DFS is that they care about things that should be like 58th on their list, and they don't do the top 5. Like they ignore the top 5 things to do, and they looked at the 58th thing, and oh well, how about this, and how about that, and how about this, and then they have no fundamental grasp of how to play DFS. And then, why am I losing? I'm trying to pick the best players. And you go, there, yeah, that now you've highlighted exactly why you're losing, because you're trying to pick the best players. Okay. Give me some thumbs ups on your way out the door. Thummy thumbs, subscribe button if you're new here. Hit the notification bell to know when we go live. As always, you can get all this stuff, the projections, the articles, the Discord, the everything. The RotoGrinders premium subscription, rotogrinders.com/premium. And if you want to hear me talk about all the fundamental concepts of daily fantasy sports, how to think like a professional DFS player, 15 hours, nice structured format. Go to theoryofdfs.com. Doesn't matter what the sport is. NBA, doesn't matter. NBA, NFL. DFS is DFS. The game theory applies to anything, any sport, anything. So theoryofdfs.com. We're back to a normal schedule, right? I'll be back tomorrow. I'm not going to be here on Friday. Okay, so we're back to an almost normal schedule. So we'll go over this 4-game slate and results DB tomorrow, and we got NBA. It's going to be NBA time. Hopefully baseball. Hopefully there is a baseball season. I'd rather do baseball. I prefer MLB DFS to NBA DFS, but we'll be surviving with NBA for the next 2 months, 2.5 months. Hopefully not. Hopefully not for longer than that. But I'll see you tomorrow, and answering your DFS strategy questions as always on the DFS pregame show on RotoGrinders.com.